and taking trains and buses. Some travelling as much as 40 hours, I gather. Case of planes, trains. Matthew Ford into the team. Exceptional start from him, including this wicket maiden.
Exceptional. The other thing that we've noticed is the number of deliveries that he's gotten seaming away from right-handed batters. Something that
he used his pre-game press conference yesterday to say they do deserve more opportunities. And I think Cricket West Indies deserve huge credit, don't they? They agreed to a 3-match T20I series, not with their full strength side, in September in Sharjah for the inaugural series, that one. And I suppose one of the benefits, I know there's difficulties for the full members trying to get those games in, because if they lose ranking points, significant ranking points, and they did lose that series 2-1. One of the benefits for West Indies, they knew exactly what this Nepal side were going to be all about. This is the same 11 pretty much that beat them back in Sharjah 5 months ago for Nepal.
it really is a wonderful discussion. I heard you mentioning the responsibility of the full member nations when they tour Asia, a quick trip across to Nepal to play a few games. When they travel to the West Indies, a quick trip to the US to play a few games there. South Africa, a quick trip to Namibia. So you're right, you're absolutely right. The more competitive matches these guys play, the better they become.
Will be a single, but it's the lowest power play of this T20 World Cup so far. Just 4 runs in the last 3 overs. Nepal are in all sorts of trouble early as we get to the end of the power play. Time for a drink. 22 for 3.
माँ शॉपिंग पे हूँ बताया था ना
that you've invited your new friend Rachel.
जी
उसे ना पंजाबी समोसे और हिंदी फिल्में बहुत पसंद है. चलो फटाफट हल्दीराम्स फ्रोजन फूड सेक्शन में.
हल्दीराम समोसा उन सब के लिए जो है दिल से हिंदुस्तानी.
T20 cricket, one of the most important bits of equipment is your bat. Now, bats come in many different shapes and sizes. I love this little presentation here, by the way. And we have bats of Fury, Fire and Glory. Jason Holder, Shafane Rutherford and Shimron Hetmeyer. Now, I hope this can be a little bit of a masterclass in bats, but if it isn't, I apologize. Now, we look at some bats, if they come a little tighter, you can see there are a lot of little lines on the face. You call that a grain. Now, a grain represents a year of life for the wood before it was turned into a bat. So you find bats like this with 4 or 5 grains very widely spread apart. That is a much younger tree. So normally it takes a little bit longer to plane and plane nicely. You can then get bats like this, however, with nice tight grains, 12, 13. These guys you can pull straight out the case and step into an international game and play. Another thing that you can consider is the shape of the bat. So we call this a duck bill. The middle is quite low. We're in the subcontinent. It doesn't bounce as much. And then you get a nice flattening of the toe to kind of balance. For someone like a Jason Holder, tall man, hits high and hard at the back end, he has less of that bill because he wants more meat in the bottom. And then we talk about height. And I would suggest and expect Shimron Hetmeyer is slightly shorter than Jason Holder, and as a result, his bat is slightly shorter too. Now, as a tall man, I'd probably choose Jason's bat. But that's a little bit of insight into different bats, different sizes, different shapes, and why you can potentially choose the one that you love.
Fantastic stuff from Carlos Brathwaite down pitch side, explaining all the different kinds of bats, different weights, different shapes, different sizes, the grains going across the front. And I can promise you that these West Indian batters in particular, they seem to have the pick of the bunch, don't they, in terms of the way they clear the rope. Right, Nepal, well, as bad a power play as they could have imagined, even worse in terms of runs than the Omani effort against Zimbabwe in Colombo. Probably of the right 2 men at the crease in terms of this consolidation phase. But they're going to need to try and accumulate some runs too, Sammy.
Yeah, because that launch phase was so troublesome for them. They need to, as you so rightly mentioned, get going and get going quite quickly. There was that moisture that we spoke about before the match that both teams were trying to exploit. West Indies won the toss and they got off to a really good start picking up those early wickets. Matthew Ford making a triumphant return to the team. And then Jason Holder with his very first delivery. West Indies won, remember, their first 2 games batting first. They were sent in. It is a much preferred option for